So we say welcome back to the studio. This is Lagos Talks 91.3 FM, and my name is Oluwakade. It's always a pleasure being here on the early edition every single day of the week, Mondays through to Friday. Right about now, we continue with our review of the different sectors in Nigeria. We're looking at Nigeria today. We're looking at where we are, particularly when it has to do with sports. Today, we're focusing on sports, not football. Sports, because we get it wrong at times when we talk football. When we talk sports, we limit it to football. And I'm being joined in the studio. He's appearing early today. Femi Farawe, seasoned sports journalist, and he's joining me here as we analyze sports, not just sports administration in Nigeria. Good morning to you, Femi. How are you doing?
Good morning, Kyle. It's good to be with you this morning. It's what you put forward is a very important part, because when this present administration came on board, one of the sectors they wanted to use to improve the economy, not just in terms of money, but also reposition the thoughts of young people, was through sports. And you know what I'm talking about? Sports is all encompassing beyond the athletes who play. There's also the administrators.
Exactly.
They're the medical professionals. They're the nutritionists. It's a full sector that could create a lot of opportunities for many people. And like you say, 8 years after, we sit here to look through what they have done, positive, negative, because the truth is they're both of those sides. I will obviously touch on it one after the other. And I think we'll certainly pick out some very key points to look forward to for the next administration on things they can do a little different.
Definitely. And I'm not just joined by Femi Farawe, I'm joined by another seasoned journalist, former editor of Go.com, an international broadcaster right now, works with one of the international media outfits in Europe. His name is Lolade Adewuyi. Good morning to you, Lolade. How are you doing today?
Good morning, Cowdy. Nice to be here with you to discuss sports, a very interesting industry, and looking forward to sharing my thoughts. We've had a mixed experience under the outgoing administration of President Buhari and Minister Sunday Dare, who came in with a lot of great expectations. Of course, he had some good wins, but posterity will decide if he achieved as much as his supporters think. So, but I'm happy to discuss this as the administration rounds up and we look into the future.
All right, and it's good you said that posterity will judge him, but put yourself in the shoes of posterity right now and tell me, how would you rate the performance of the minister? Let's start with that.
Yeah, Minister Dare came into office with a lot of exciting prospects. We had suffered under Solomon Dalung. So we have to realize we had two really important ministers, sports ministers for the under the Buhari administration. Solomon Dalung came before, and Solomon Dalung was this he's a qualified lawyer, but he's
khaki-wearing minister.
Yeah, the red beret wearing man, and he had his quirks. And the interesting thing about Buhari's ministers is they all lasted 4 years, so that they had enough time to be able to work, to be able to propound policies. And Dalung went all out to fight the NFF, showed his hand, he was really involved in politics. Dare came in as a expected breath of fresh air.
Okay.
More debonair, exposed, had gone to war. Studied internationally, had worked as a journalist. So we knew he was a man of ideas. But some things happened. You go to look at the crisis in the Basketball Federation and how we missed the Women's World Cup, last year. And the progress in the men's basketball has been lost. Now we couldn't even qualify we qualified for both men and women's Olympics last year in the basketball, but couldn't qualify for the World Cup men this again, because things have changed because of Minister Dare's decision to ban and to change things midway, So these are the things you look at and you say, no, we could have done better. And also in football, I think the handling of football is our biggest sport. The handling of General's contract, the sacking just before the last World Cup qualifiers before the AFCON of 2022. I think he had his hands in it, and definitely it feels like we shot ourselves in the foot, and we are ruining it now. We regret missing the World Cup, and the future is in a state of flux. The new coach is, but it's so many things. We just want to be. I don't want to nitpick immediately, but we can go in depth as time goes on. So let's not. But in terms of business, let me say the fact that he was able to support the Sports Nigeria Group, Nigeria Limited, to be able to put in place sports as business policy in Nigeria, which I hope can continue to function after his departure from office, in terms of political will and support for this policy after his departure. I think it was a great thing.
All right, at least you're talking about the good, the bad, and probably in between some ugly scenes as well. Now, coming to you, Femi Farawe, and looking at this administration, generally beyond the sports minister and what he did and his own performance, let's look at sports in totality. Lolade spoke about the basketball, how it suddenly went down because of certain decisions that were taken, inability to attend some of these sporting events, basketball events, and generally spoke about the good things as well. But beyond basketball and football, sports in general, was there any change, positive, negative?
I cannot disagree with Lolade. I think that the second part of this administration, my opinion, has been successful. And I use the word successful. Obviously, there will still be one or two concerns, and we will not deny it. He's mentioned a few of them, and I agree. But when we talk about success, it's about actions. Talk about being deliberate about what you want to do. You may stumble along the way, and we can't deny that. Everyone has got one or two hiccups here or there. But some of the achievements that he has had, we had him here, right? He spoke about these things. He spoke about the basketball team, the women's team, what happened. Spoke about the men's team. And truly, I was in a couple of spaces where this same question was posed to them. Did you sign a document saying you will protest? I do not think anybody on planet Earth, right, who is a Nigerian, should intentionally try to prepare and go and drag the country internationally into mud, because we went through a lot. The Olympics, athletes dragged the country. They protested in Japan. I thought it was bad. Look, and I still blame the minister because, number one, it's in your purview. You are the one in charge. If anything good comes, you take the credit. If something bad happens, so he took a decision by saying, I will prevent this from happening. Now, you also talk about beyond football, our facility infrastructure. That's been one of our key issues, right? The National Stadium in Surulere, Lagos, has not been good for as long as I can remember, right? The Abuja Stadium, which was recently built, as recent as 2003, has not been in a good state. We play our games in New York. The minister comes on board and says, you know what? We're going to do an adopt and outlet plan to improve this, right? And we've seen improvements in the Abuja Stadium. We've seen improvements in the Lagos Stadium. It's not finished, but it's there. There's already plans to also improve the Liberty Stadium. That's the Obafemi Awolowo Stadium. There's already stories about the government handing over two stadiums, right, in Kaduna, back to the state government, that of Enugu, back to the state government. And you know what? We may not have the resources to maintain this, but let's give it to the state government. If you're going to use it for business, you're going to find new ways to generate funds. Fine, go ahead. Let's try to create some form of balance. And why don't we even come a lot lower, developmental-wise, because we all focus on football and basketball. How about wrestling? Wrestling made some good improvements in the last 4 years, right? Whether it's the general work of the president of the federation, but it's still under the purview of the Ministry of Youth and Sport, because the Ministry of Youth and Sports has also given that opportunity for them to excel. We've spoken about badminton here. We've seen some developments from badminton. It's not giant strides, but it's little steps. And I think if we continue with these little steps, we'll see a lot more. Table tennis, right? We all talk about Aaron Okodre, Funke Shinaike, but beyond those new names, there are many young athletes. There's a girl, Fatima Bello. She's impressed. She wasn't in the scene 8 years ago. She was not there. But now she's pushed so well that she's currently Nigeria's #1 table tennis player for women. This is a girl who nobody knows. Now, I'm not saying the ministry did all that, but I'm saying an enabling environment has been put in place
all right.
in the little way they can.
Okay, now when it comes to achievement, particularly in the area of sports, I'm often very critical about it because it reminds me of years ago in Ghana, West Africa, when the likes of the ABC, the Young Shall Grow, is it cross country, all these transport companies started plying the route, the West Africa route. And of course, it improved automatically business because people had easy access to travel. People who were more careful, more wary about traveling across West Africa now knew they had these trusted brands they could travel with. And generally, it will improve business relationship between Nigeria, Ghana, Togo, Cote d'Ivoire, and the likes. But with that said, it will be wrong for government to take credit for it because they did nothing. These were just businessmen who saw an opportunity. They didn't get any help from government. They struggle at the borders. They do go through hell trying to get things. They need to bribe or pay certain fees that government could have helped out. Now, why am I saying this? I'm asking this question to say that the achievements we've had in the last 8 years,
yes,
were they calculated achievement or steps or results due to calculated steps taken by government to ensure that we grow, or they were just individual efforts of people?
You know, in some endeavors, yes, you're right, but in some other endeavors, no, because the Adopt an Athlete plan is also government-private partnership. The minister was deliberate about it, spoke about what he planned to do. There was even an event to say, okay, who is sponsoring which athlete for the Olympics? And we had a few private companies come up. Yes, the Delta State government supported some of the athletes. Ogun State government supported, what's her name? What's the name of the athlete?
Musa,
yeah, Toby,
Amusa.
right? And a few other, Lagos State supported a few athletes, but we also had private companies step up and support some of the other athletes. Security firms supported one of the athletes in wrestling, right? So we've seen a lot of this. It was deliberate. I agree that it is not perfect. I agree that there's room for improvements, but I'm saying that we cannot discount the efforts that they have made. It should be bigger. Hopefully in the next 4 years, 8 years, we'll see the dividends of this.
All right. Lolade, let's come over to you right now, and let's look at this in specific terms. Now, if you are an international broadcaster, you've worked in different parts of the world, you traveled around. Now, when you look at Nigeria's capacity as a nation, and you look at the resources we have, you look at the talents we have, yes, we might say we've taken little strides, but should we be celebrating what we seem to have achieved right now, or is this the best we can get from Nigeria, even considering all the economic and limitations that we might want to refer to, or are there other things we could have done differently?
The truth is, as a country, as a people, with our resources, we've underachieved. I mean, our resources are not so much, but our number is inching more above 200 million now, and we have not won an Olympic gold medal since the year 2000. We are underachieving in sports. The sports that we used to dominate in the past, we've lost that. In the sprints, we used to have the African record holders in the sprints in the 80s, in the 90s, even till the 2000s. Olusoji Fashuba broke the world record the African record in 2000 was it 2004, 2005, but now who is dominating the sprints in Africa? South Africa, Kenya, countries that were not known for their sprints programs. Kenya, that used to be all, long distance running, they have the current African record holder, and well, at the Olympics last 2 years ago, we had the Nigerian men's finalists for the first time in almost 20, 30 years, since Olakpade Adenike in 88 or so, or 96. Since 96, we haven't had a Nigerian in in the final of the men's 100 meters, but we had Adegoke in 2021. But where's Adegoke today? He got injured and he's no longer on the scene. He's no longer, every time we're having new potentials, we're not building on these kind of athletes that we have already had. So when we talk about our potential is huge. We have the talent. Look at last night, a bunch of our young under-20 team defeated Italy. Italy's players already play in many of them already play in Serie A, but we beat them. And this shows that there's a lot of talent in Nigeria. And when I watch our players, when I watch their performances and what they have to go through, what the coaches have to deal with in different aspects of Nigerian life and Nigerian sport, I know there's a lot of potential, but there's a lack of resources to support the potential that we have as a country. So sport, most of the achievement we find in Nigerian sport has come through the sheer will of individuals, the athletes themselves, their coaches, and most times the federation chairs, the people who run these federations. So when you say badminton is doing well, you look at what Barrister Obi is doing, paying out of his pocket to ensure that athletes are getting, the badminton players are getting the best. While, the Nigerian government doesn't really pay attention to the sport. When you say wrestling is doing well or has done well in the last 8 years, what is the Wrestling Federation president, the former gold medalist, how much he's putting in his own personal capacity? When you say football, when you say, all these sports, the Nigerian government doesn't do enough for us, for the athletes, for the administrators to achieve these things. Most of them are running their federations out of pocket. Sponsorship is down in many spaces. Apart from football, sponsorship is nothing to write home about for all the other sports. So people are having to dip their hands in their own pockets, in their own businesses that they are running, taking money from their businesses to finance Nigerian glory. So this has been going on, and it's sad that it will continue to happen. And that's why we cannot really attain the potential that we have as a people, a very athletic people, a very talented people. You look at the achievements we currently have, the talents that have come from Nigeria and where they've come from. I live in Germany now, and I see the way everything is, clubs, stadiums in each neighborhood, like standard grass. And I see kids, I compare it to Nigerian kids who have to go through playing without shoes and still rising to the top of the sport and becoming real household names like Victor Osimhen, who I have followed his story since he led Nigeria to under 17 World Cup title in 2015, and now in being a household name, a semi-god a demigod in Napoli in Italy. Taiwo Awoniyi, who used to play here in Union Berlin and now is a hero at Nottingham Forest. You see all these boys rose through so much poverty and lack of organized football or access to anything standard, but they've risen through dent of hard work and determination. That's the Nigerian, but we can do better. Government needs to look at sport now. Like I said, I appreciate the fact that the sports as business policy has been given some political support. I don't know how it will turn out, but I believe that sport can make many things change for Nigerian youth. Not just the athletes themselves, but the businesses that surround it. There are a lot of opportunities. So until we begin to really create a sports industry that can work for people for young Nigerians in Nigeria and for business people so that they put more money into sports and so that the industry can really, really grow.
All right.
We will continue to just be floundering.
All right. Now you've spoken about a lot about how individual efforts have brought us this far, giving glory to the nation. I remember when you were saying that this I always forget the name of the sport, something board sliding or something.
Bobsled.
Yeah. You know, the ladies that funded themselves and went there to represent Nigeria, and just wonder what has government done with them since that feat. I don't know if you have any update on that, Femi.
There's nothing there's nothing government has done. All that stands is a federation. Now I understand when Lolade points out some of these key things about many of out-of-pocket funding, which is wrong. Nobody should be spending their personal money to run a federation that belongs to Nigeria. I don't support it. But what I also ask, the question I always ask, and I think this is beyond us blaming the government, but it's also us saying we have a problem as a nation and we need to change. Sponsorship, we spoke about sponsorship. When you go abroad, there's a lot of these things. A young athlete, someone who is 17, 18, read the story of Michael Jordan, right? He already had the potential and Nike bounced on it, right? And they started investing. In Nigeria, we don't have any opportunity where private firms put money on athletes. We don't have an opportunity where these federations, I remember the AFN suggested going autonomous a few years ago. Right? They said they don't want to be under the government, but you still want to collect money from the government. You can't tell me not to touch your business, right? But you still want to collect my money. As a father, I will not give you money.
FIFA does that with football.
No. What FIFA still does, as much as FIFA says, without government interference, FIFA cannot deny the fact that government still has some form of, because they're working under the rules of the country. And there's no rule that goes above that of the government. FIFA, is what FIFA is. But you cannot say that you will collect my money, you will spend my money, but I will not have any say in what you do. It's not possible. It is not possible, not in Nigeria. So until Federation starts outsourcing, getting funds, and I give a good example, handball, for example. Now, the president has done a great job. He's doing absolutely fabulous work. Now, I know that the government can do a little more. I remember I started by saying government can do more from the beginning. They're not doing enough. They can do more. But I'm not denying the fact that I think federations should start doing a little more. There's no sponsorship. Handball is sponsored. They have a league. It's running. It's sponsored. The national teams, senior, junior, they're all going out for international events. I'm saying that go beyond us saying, it's government. Government didn't give me money. I'm not going to do anything. You're going to not only kill the athletes, but also kill the dreams and the monies that you will make long term. Basketball is one of the biggest sports we have in Nigeria.
But it seems to be.
Yes, we've not had a league running for years.
Couldn't the minister for the sports minister have done anything about that?
His predecessor started it.
Yeah, couldn't he have done anything about that in 4 years?
They have tried, but apparently we've come back to this same out-of-pocket spending. People that have spent out-of-pocket now holding it's my own. Don't let it go.
And maybe I should come to.
And that's where the international federation still come in because they will sit back somebody.
Yeah.
And then it becomes a messy situation.
All right, maybe I should come to Lolade on this. I've seen you cover and interview these Nigerians that have bought clubs in Europe, and they've invested their money in it, and they keep. I think about 2 of them now. I've bought clubs there in Europe now.
Yes.
Great. So, and you spoke about sponsorship, and that's the same thing Femi Farawe just spoke about, the lack of sponsorship. Now, how can we make Nigerian sports, different federations, look attractive enough that will entice sponsors with less lobbying? Because even if you look abroad, almost every sport has a kind of sponsorship, either from government or from other people. Why are these Nigerians who are going abroad to buy clubs for millions of dollars and pounds and euro, why wouldn't they spend fewer millions of naira to buy clubs in Nigeria or go ahead and sponsor? And in the cases where, I know you might want to refer to the it was that company again, ITO, that sponsored the NFL, at some point. What's wrong with the image of sports in Nigeria that makes it difficult? Maybe that's a better question. Lolade.
Okay, so the 2 Nigerian gentlemen that have clubs in Europe actually also invest in Nigerian football clubs. Kunle Shoname is founder of Remo Stars. They also have an academy, and he's invested a lot, having a stadium, and is one of the people changing the face of Nigerian football. Because Remo Stars play in the NPFL. Also, Shola Akinlade, who has recently, so Mr. Shoname has a club in Portugal. CD Feirense is a majority shareholder at the Portuguese club. Shola Akinlade, who has recently bought majority shares in the second division Danish club, Aarhus Fremad, who I interviewed in Denmark, also invests in Nigerian football. Last year, he started Sporting Lagos, and it's one of the most exciting sports projects to have happened in Lagos in recent years. He's building a viable commercial product, commercial and entertaining sports product in Lagos. He's already also investing in a prime property for stadium in Lekki. So that is going to really change the way Nigerian football is perceived going forward. He's investing in an academy. So these two gentlemen are doing their best, investing locally in Nigerian football and also investing internationally, so that they have a gateway for their players to enter into Europe. But Nigerian football they are showing, like I said, they are showing a pathway for private investment in terms of ownership, because in the past, private owners have struggled to find the business sense, because football is not a business that really, it's cash intensive. You have to pay people over several weeks, and in Nigeria, where most games people don't want to even pay tickets to enter into, pay for match tickets to enter into games, and then even though these match tickets really don't cost so much compared with if you were going to watch a game in Europe. But these two gentlemen, Mr. Shoname and Mr. Akinlade, are building a commercially viable profile for running a Nigerian football club. And if they continue to succeed, it will change the impression that Nigerian football cannot make profit or cannot be sustained by, Nigerian football business cannot be sustained, So it's my hope that they continue to make progress and to make the business of it, So they are showing us that it's possible to make business in Nigerian football.
You made a statement now saying they're building a commercial profile. So that suggests that up until now, people don't really see the value in investing in a lot of sports in Nigeria, not just football. But moving forward, in order for us to change this, what kind of minister do we need to transform Nigerian sports moving forward? With the incoming government?
I think a minister that is coming to, that perhaps already knows the industry. Because most of the ministers that we've had, including Sonny Dare, they didn't work in sport. Solomon Dalung, they didn't work in sport. They were lawyers or journalists who worked every other space. And that's a problem for Nigerian sport. And the choice of ministers. Ministers are selected and in many other fields, many other ministries, apart from perhaps healthcare and maybe aviation, that are really technical and need professional that need professionals to manage them. What we need is a Nigerian sports minister that's already worked in sport. I hope that the incoming administration finds someone with a profile that's already worked in sports business or worked in business, and then can bring that vision to transform the sports industry, because sport is a great thing for Nigeria. We've flown the flag of Nigeria through sports. I was in Naples in the Champions League game between Napoli and AC Milan last month, and right there, in the stands was a Nigerian flag being, flown by Italian fans because of Victor Osimhen. The soft power of sport is really important, but we need to get a hang of the business of sport, the economy of sport, to transform it into an industry that can really help develop our youth and give opportunities for young people to be able to make money and live well locally, but then also provide talent that can also go international, But first, we need to develop a local economy for sport, build infrastructure, ensure that private funds come into sports, because government funds cannot sustain sport, So we need to open the space in a way that it becomes a business for investors, like Dangote will go into oil refining. We need some people like the Akinlades, the people who are now making a lot of money in the tech industry, to put money into sport. And I think it will happen with what Shola Akinlade of Paystack is doing. I think it will happen that more, because there's a lot of money in the hands of tech entrepreneurs. I think more of them, we need them, will spend money in sport if they see that he succeeds.
All right. And I think there's a good place to anchor right now. Charles just joined me in the studio, and I don't know if he has a word this morning as we bring the program to a halt. Charles, morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning. Good to see you, Lolade. How's it going?
Very well, thank you. It's good to see you too.
Who would you be suggesting if you were asked to put forward a name for a sports minister, for the incoming administration? What name readily comes to mind?
Honestly, I someone that I respect, that I know knows the legal, knows the business, and has handled sports internationally and locally in Nigeria, and continues to do something fantastic with a sport that many people do not really pay attention to. He's been commissioner for sports in Lagos before. I would say it would be Barrister Enitan Oshodi, but he's a member of the APC, and I hope he gets the opportunity. But I know that the way politics is run, he may, the new president wants to give portfolios to all people that support him. So, but I would put my heart into the ring and say, Barrister Oshodi, please, let's make him run the sports ministry. He's a lawyer. He's been head of table tennis in Africa and vice president. In the International Table Tennis Federation. I think he understands sport. He invests in athletes also. So for me, he's the first person that comes to mind. Definitely, he's the first person that comes to mind for me. But I'm sure there are so many other qualified people that could do it, but he's the first person that comes to mind. I've never been on a spot like this before, but he's the first person that comes to mind for me.
All right. And I think we might just have to draw the curtain here as we get ready for the sports zone at 8 o'clock. Thank you so much, Lolade, for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Kari.
All right, so that's how we draw the curtain on the interview segment this morning on the early edition. We've taken a short break, and when we come back, it'll be time for us to get the gentlemen of the sports. You've heard two of their voices already. 8 o'clock, they take over. I'm a novice when it comes to sports, but they are the experts who'll be reviewing definitely the Nigerian Flying Eagles game and other events that have taken place between yesterday and this morning. Keep listening to Lagos Talks 91.3 FM. My name is Oluwa Kayode.